So we'll do that next. Turn this up here. Oh, that might be a problem. Should probably put the weight on the front too. Well, don't have to. Let's see how much solid we've got. Should I? I could do the weeder. Yeah, let's do the weeder. It's free. Oh, I moved the weight. There it is. Trees are growing. Yay, trees. Okay. And yeah, this needs doing. At least it looks like it does. The ground behind you is darker than the ground in front, then this is actually having an effect. Oops. So yeah, it's working. Now, while this is a great way to get free fertilisation, it is a bit slower than doing a solid or liquid spread. So this is going to take some time. Not to worry, we've pretty much got all day. Could go and get myself a wood chipper and fulfill that great demand. I don't think I'm going to bother with that though. I did serious amounts of wood chipping on Old Stream when I played it. Probably about 10 million litres worth. Because I had a shed that held 500,000. And that was almost permanently full, waiting for the next great demand to come out. Missing bits. I could go GPS on this. Get a more efficient coverage, although this tractor technically doesn't have GPS. Most of the field work I do with it, it's following other tractors around, or at least it was in the past. I used to run it with tedders or bale wrappers. So it's the tractor at the front that was doing GPS. But I should get back in practice for manual working the fields, or unassisted working the fields, should I say. Because that's our only option in Farm Sim 19 at the moment. Not that. Yes. Matter of interest, yeah. Might be a great demand, but it's really not that great. Yeah, pigs aren't really worth much at the moment. Should have sold them back in spring. Next good point is the middle of winter. So maybe I'll hold off on that. Oops. Another thing I noticed playing Farm Sim 19 yesterday, you can go off onto an escape menu and the while your controls are disengaged while you're on the menu, you can put the tractor on cruise control and it will carry on driving in a straight line while you peruse the various menus. In Farm Sim 917, tractor operation stops. So the only way to continue doing things is by using a worker while you're looking at stuff. I finally got around to putting my avatar picture on YouTube last night. I should probably get around to doing that on Steam as well sometime. Do. I might do the other grass field with a spreader. These spreaders feel quicker than weeders, though I don't know how much supply of fertilizer I have today. Right. Yeah, we got some friends at church who raise cattle. Every once in a while they'll offer up quarter of a cow for sale. Which makes for some very cheap steaks and roasts. We did buy the cow when we had foster kids in the house, and we don't have any of them at the moment, so it's taking us a while to get through quarter of a cow. Enough. Still quite a ways to go. But there's very little to do today and almost nothing to do tomorrow, since the animals will be fed. harvest should be day 5, I think. What with the time we actually got the crops into the ground for. $300 for half a pig. I must admit, I don't know how much a pig weighs. I think ours worked out to about 70 cents a pound, plus butcher's fees. But the butcher just charges for cutting the cow. He doesn't charge for any more or less for the different cuts. What are we doing? We're going to run across the top because this layer of grass is getting a bit close to the fence. I can't fit the tractor in for a turnaround. On field 33 I ended up rolling back away from the fence because I couldn't get the crop in the top edge of the field as it was defined. And it was giving all sorts of problems for the seeder and the harvester. Oh yeah. Well, technically the hunters make the killing. But the butchers definitely make a lot of money from the proceeds. A bit wide here. Though technically I figure you would probably fertilise the entire field. Just that it's only the central part of the field that's actually defined. If I could be bothered, I could probably plough it out a bit. Okay, let's get back online. Start going north and south again. Not crash into the fence. Yeah, we had hunting's not such a big thing over in England, but shooting pheasants and such, wild turkeys is. And my dad's boss, or former boss, used to hunt pheasant, and his wife would dress the birds. And he came in one day to work and said to my dad, "Oh, I've got a couple of pheasants, do you want them?" So my dad said, "Sure." We brought them home. My one mum took one look at the bird and says, "I don't know what you expect me to do with that." So he took it back to work. He said, "Is that okay if your wife dresses the birds for us?" "Yeah, not a problem." So my dad and I had a pheasant each one weekend. I must say, wild pheasant, much more flavourful than your average farm-bred turkey or chicken. I'm really not much of a turkey fan. I remember when I was a kid, turkeys used to be fairly flavourful. Chickens more so. But in recent years, I found turkey just doesn't have much in the way of flavour. Now that could be my age, or it could be the fact that turkey doesn't have much of a flavour anymore because of all the hormones they pump into them. But I'd much prefer to have a chicken than a turkey. Now, I did have deer once and I did have rabbit once. The place where I worked was way out in the countryside. We were surrounded by farm fields, and the local town, the public house, had food service morning and evening, and so they used to do different different dishes every week. And one week they had deer, so I had that. Another week they had rabbit stew, so I had that. Even had a goat curry once, although I wasn't particularly impressed with that. But that, a lot of times a curry is vegetarian. Most Indian people are vegetarian. But the ones that aren't will generally eat fish first. And if then they eat more meat, then they'll usually eat chicken, sheep or goats. I much prefer a lamb curry to a goat curry. Well, that also all depends where you live. If you live in Texas, then curries are incredibly spicy. Even the mild curries are spicy. If you live in Michigan, a mild curry is a curry that was cooked in a kitchen where there were some spices somewhere. It's it's really very bland, and even when you ask for a spicy curry, if you go anywhere that does serious curries, it's sort of medium mild, because I don't think people in Michigan have the palate for a strong hot curry. So you kind of, when they say mild, medium, or spicy, you kind of have to sort of say, pretend the mother-in-law is coming to visit. Oh, okay, sir. And you get the really good, knocks the back of your throat out curry. Which sometimes when you've got a cold or a throat infection or something like that, curry goes a long way to negating the effects, at least the effects that you feel. It's probably still going on, but my dad had a friend who eats incredibly hot curries. And in England, the strength of the curry is based on the name of the curry. So, whereas your American curries are, the name of the curry dictates the spice content, the condiment content, and the meat content. And then you can have it in mild, medium or hot variety. In England, a vindaloo is a hot curry, a dansak is a milder curry, and a korma is an incredibly mild curry. So this guy liked really, really, really hot curries, and traditionally the vindaloo is the hottest curry available. Well, back in, I guess, the late 70s, some Indian exchange students at the university decided, there are people in England who like really hot curries. Let's invent a new curry. So they invented what was called the FAHL, F-A-H-L, which they use the strongest spices to make it. And as far as a genuine Indian dish is concerned, it's not genuine at all. It's an English concoction. Well, it was invented by Indian students, but it's purely found in England as a dish. And this friend of my dad's decided, I'm going to have one of those. And he took about 2 or 3 bites and he was done. The sweat was pouring off his eyebrows. That would be what we call in England a cottage pie. Cottage pie is made with ground beef and then typically peas and diced carrots and a layer of potato on the top. There are variations. There's a Cumberland pie which includes a sort of breadcrumb topping on top of the potato, so it gives us a little, it gives the topping a little bit of a crunch. But a proper shepherd's pie is made from lamb, obviously. So ground lamb, typically peas, diced carrots, and then your layer of potato on top. And that's your shepherd's pie. Anything else, and pretty much anything that you buy in America that's called shepherd's pie, is technically a cottage pie, because shepherds don't look after cows. But then also a lot of Americans don't particularly like the taste of lamb either. I know my wife doesn't, so we don't have shepherd's pie, we have cottage pie. And then when you say to somebody, we had cottage pie today, they look at you as if you're speaking a foreign language because they have no concept of what that is. It's a shepherd's pie with cow in it, not sheep. Oh. Yeah, shredded cheese is an option, although it's not a required part of the recipe. If you want cheese on top of your shepherd's pie or cottage pie, that is an option. What I've been having a craving for in the last year is a proper sausage roll. Which is effectively sausage and sausage meat made into a roll and then wrapped in what is it, flaky pastry, and then baked. And it's definitely not a hamburger in a pastry roll. That is not a sausage roll. But not a hamburger, a hot dog. Yeah, and whenever we go out and there is an option to have lamb, I will generally have it because we don't have it at home. Back when I lived on my own, most of my food was ground beef or beef cubes or something like that. Something I could throw in a pan with vegetables and spices and it would last me 2 or 3 days. I wouldn't do chicken because I really didn't know how to cook chicken. And yeah, pretty much everything else was something fairly meat shaped, like chops and what have you, and that takes effort to cook. And when you're on your own, you just want something to eat. So the one pot meal was good for me. My wife, she does lots of things. Yeah, she'll roast a chicken. It's not something I would never have tried on my own. I like roast chicken, so when I go out I would eat roast chicken, but it's just me at home. I mean, my thing was if I cook half a pound of meat, that's going to last me 2 or 3 days. With all the vegetables and what have you, so I don't have to prepare a meal every day. And when it's just you, it's sort of why do I need to bother? I just need to have some food. Oh. As I said, not a quick job with this thing. It looks like we're nearly done. I'm not sure I can do that triangle in one pass. There. Lift and fold. I probably can. We just don't usually, because my wife's not a big fan of lamb, so. Kind of a case of, well, I don't know how to cook it. Well, exactly the same as you would with beef or anything else, but she sticks to what she knows. Okay, I'm going to drop this and put on a regular... Probably try the spreader first. I think field 1 is bigger than... I don't know. Hard to tell. Field 1 might be bigger than the field we just did. And that one took us a while, so we're going to need to use some of the manure next year, come fall. Okay, what's the supply like in here? Oh, we have none. Okay. It's only a little bit. What the heck? This is going to cost me. Not that it matters too much since I've got a fair amount of money, but this is far more costly than buying pallets. $3,500. What did I put in? 1,300. Okay, I'm intrigued. How much does it actually cost? Solid fertilizer, 1,600 per 1,000. We put in about 1,600, but even so, that's almost twice the cost, which is why I generally don't use on-farm seed and fertilizer stations. Field 2's looking good. That'll bring in the straw that we need for the cows and the pigs. Did I close the gate here? Nope, I left it open. Tut, tut, tut. Okay. For those of you wondering, I did start this playthrough, well, I started this playthrough before I streamed it with crop destruction on. Unfortunately, some of the tractors I decided to use, 270, Their crop destruction, or their crop friendly tyres didn't work. Obviously all the tractors in game, if you put narrow tyres on, they don't destroy crops. But and I think for the most part the mods that Giants release also, narrow tyres don't destroy crops, but some of the other mods, even the ones on the in-game mod hub, their narrow tyres do destroy crops, and in some cases they destroy crops to the width of a standard tyre, so it doesn't matter if you put narrow tyres on, you destroy as much as the crop as if you had normals on. So that kind of annoyed me because I wanted to try out some of these tractors. So I just turned crop destruction off, and what I try to do is sort of remain loyal to the concept without going overboard. So I know in Farm Sim 19 they turned crop destruction off for grass. So even if you have crop destruction turned on, you can't destroy grass. Which kind of makes sense given, you know, so many of the mowing attachments attached to the back of a tractor, and so you're always going to destroy the grass that you're driving on, whereas in real life it would just fold over and pop back up again. Grass is relatively resilient to that unless you're constantly driving over it, or it's winter. We've got some tyre tracks on our driveway when we got a little bit of snow and a visitor got their car stuck sideways across the drive, and so we just said, just drive across the grass, and of course there's now a pair of tyre tracks across that bit of the grass. I'm not going to be too bothered about filling that stretch that I missed a little bit of. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal. What if I just not to miss any more? How about that? There we go. Drive 270. Black sausage is, if I remember rightly, it's the stomach of a sheep stuffed with things like kidneys, hearts, and other bits of sheep that typically don't end up in a shepherd's pie. And yeah, kidneys, liver, heart, that sort of thing. Not my idea of a fun food, so I just stick to the bacon and sausage and eggs and fried bread and mushrooms, baked beans. Oh, grilled carrots as well. Take a carrot, cut it in half, stick it on a griddle. Tomato, yes, what did I say? Carrot, not carrot, tomato. Red fruit, not orange vegetable. Yeah, black pudding and white pudding are more of a Northern England thing than a Southern England. I'm from Southern England. Do we have an outdoor grill? We have a charcoal grill, not a very big one. We don't use it very frequently. Usually sort of 4th of July, end of autumn, that type of thing. Although this year we had a patio at the back of the house built, along with a back door installed. So we now have 2 doors out of the main floor rather than just the one. And the plan is to get a grill for the back porch, since it's more convenient because it's straight out of the kitchen. See, much quicker than the what was I using? The weeder. But like I said, the weeder's free. So back when I was starting the farm, I prefer free stuff to expensive stuff. And pretty much for the first year, I didn't use any helpers until fall, and then I was running helpers on the harvesters while I was hauling the load away, but that's still only one field at a time. But after the harvest of the first year, I had sufficient money where I could do multiple tasks simultaneously on different fields. So I could have one tractor on a helper running around cultivating the field, another one running around behind it, one field behind seeding it, another one running behind that fertilizing, assuming I wasn't using a planter that included fertilizer. Probably one down, one up, yeah. Oh, well, that last 3.7 meters or thereabouts needs to be fertilized twice anyway. So might as well run at least one spread on that. I was never really interested in Premier League soccer, and for the most part Premier League soccer wasn't something that was available when I was a child. At weekends we would go round to visit my grandfather, and he'd basically sleep in front of the TV on Saturdays, and we would have the amateur wrestling, aka fake wrestling, and there would be soccer results and maybe a soccer match, and no, it was soccer first, then the amateur wrestling, then the soccer results, and finally the Doctor Who. And heaven forbid you change the channel while he was lying there sleeping, because he would wake up, We change the channel back to the soccer, he'd go back to the sofa and fall back asleep again. But that was our... it wasn't every weekend, but that was a common weekend thing. It looks like the grass to the left wasn't fertilised, because that's changing colour. I'm driving approximately on the bit that was just cut, which would be ready for fertiliser. So let's have a look at that now. Okay. So that strip there is just what we cut. That's a bit I missed, and I'm not going to bother going back for. So that was only at 1 level of fertilisation because we'd just cut it, and so now it's at 2. This bit up here was going dark to show that it was being fertilised, but that's fully fertilised, so nothing doing there. Okay, so all the fields are back to being fully fertilised again. Don't think there's much in the way of selling stuff at the moment. Oh, wood chips. Wool's a fair value for this time of year, but frankly this is not the time of year to be selling wool. We did that a couple of days ago when it was reasonably good and there was a great demand. Actually, I might be wrong there. It might be a very good time to think about selling wool. We can zoom in now that we're done fertilising. So, cows are happy, sheep are happy, pigs are happy, chickens don't need to be fed, close the gate, and we pretty much used up all of the fertiliser that we put in the tank, so that was kind of a good guess. I do like that now you can empty spreaders and sprays and seeders, except for the beta stat seeders, which appear to be broken. All the rest of the stuff I've used, you can unload them, which is quite nice. Yes, and I would agree there. I mean, when you look at, I don't know about Star Trek, the original series, but when you look at Star Trek The Next Generation, you had Patrick Stewart, who's a Royal Shakespearean actor, so stage plays, where you have to remember the entire script day in, day out. But then it's the only script you have to learn. But he's very good at delivering lines. Surprisingly enough, I don't know much about John Delancey. I know he did a lot of American soap work, but when he and Patrick Stewart were on the set together, you just get rid of everybody else because they're not in the same league. I mean, I know, was it the second episode they tried to, or the second episode with Q, they tried to have Riker be the target of Q's mischievousness, and in the grand scheme of things, it was probably one of the poorer episodes that Q was in, purely because Riker, Bill Frakes doesn't have the gravitas to stand opposite him. Brent Spiner was stage. Who else? Marina Sirtis was movie. Although I don't rate her as as an exceptional actress. Gates McFadden did the choreography for Labyrinth, the David Bowie movie. But she was good. But yeah, it's sort of, some people, you know, are just good at what they do. So when they come into to sort of TV roles, they can seriously carry a show. And if you can't get the supporting cast, the show can suffer because of it. I didn't wash the weight. Never mind. Okay, let's go get the forks back on. If I can. This could be a problem. Yeah, this is a problem. I'm going to have to reset those. Ooh. I'm going to have to guess which ones they are. Oy vey. Ah, is that them? That looks like it. Reset. Yes. Okay. Back. Oh, it wasn't. Oh, crud. Well done. Nope, they're over there. Must be the case. Yep. Oops. Okay, let's try and find some more. FC30. That one. Okay, something weird happened there. Yes. They've made Farm Sim 19, the attach points, a little bit more forgiving. But in Farm Sim 17, if you've parked your fork attachment in a raised position, then the forks lift too far off the ground that the sort of the collision point doesn't detect the attachment. There we go. Okay. So we'll get the forks and then we're going to go and have to get the case. See, I put the forks too far up. If I put the forks there and then disconnected, it would have been able to cope with a reconnect, or detected the attachment for a reconnect. Okay. There we go. So that tractor's done and washed and everything else. Now I need to find the